Hey guys, welcome to Unit 1, and we're going to talk about sections 3 and 4. This is a complete review. So what I would like for you to do is go through everything in this first page and kind of see what you know and what you don't know already. And I will hit some things as we go along. So this should go pretty quickly. So again, just anything you know about anything on this first page. So go ahead and push pause and do that. So go ahead and go through here and see if your answers match mine. This is the entirety of lesson 3. So again, you can see that it's all review. Um, so let's go ahead and go back up here. Anytime, if you'll notice this quote here, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. So like we're taking the opposite of 12, and then we're taking the opposite of that. So the opposite of 12 is negative 12. The opposite of negative 12 is positive 12. So really, if you want to think about negatives as being opposites, if that helps, that's what you're doing. I will warn you, if you're just going to use your calculator, make sure that you're putting in parentheses when necessary, because if you don't, that's going to mess up your answer. The next thing I want to talk about is absolute value. Just make sure that you know that it is a distance. And so I have this diagram here. So this answer is the same as this answer because they're both 4 away from 0 on the number line. So the absolute value of 0 is just 0. Next, we're going to talk about addition and subtraction. So when you have different signs, so I'm talking about like a negative 6 and a positive 13, you're going to subtract the two numbers. But if you have the same signs, you're going to add the two numbers. So negative 9, negative 7, you're going to add that 9 and 7 and get 16. Same thing as this is really the same thing as up here. So we're taking this 3 and we're making it negative, and then the opposite of that is going to be positive. When you're adding fractions, don't forget you need a common denominator. So the common denominator of 5 and 4 is 20. And so then I'm going to ask myself, okay, well, 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom by 4, and the same thing, top and bottom by 5. Okay, now multiplication division. So the rule is if you have anytime you have an even amount of negatives, your answer is going to be positive. Anytime you have an odd amount of negatives, your answer is going to be negative. So if you'll notice this one, and this one, they all follow those rules. When you are multiplying fractions, you multiply across on the top and multiply across on the bottom and simplify if you can. When you're dividing, you're going to multiply by taking the reciprocal of this. So if you'll notice from this to this, that's exactly what happened. And then the last thing I want to talk about is division by 0. 0 on top is okay. The 0 on bottom is no way. So if you have a 0 on top, that's 0. If you have a 0 on bottom, that's undefined. Now we're going to transition into order of operations. So the first thing you'll come to is grouping symbols. So when you have grouping symbols, you're going to work from the inside out. So notice that's as inside as I can get. So I'm going to say 6 minus 8 and close those in parentheses. Now do that. 5 times negative 2 equals negative 10. So go ahead and try that one. Okay, so if you'll notice, I kind of looked at this, 3 minus 6 and there's absolute value bar, so that's negative 3, but the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3, so that's where that came from. Obviously, 4 times 5 is 20, and then I combined these, I worked inside the grouping symbols, and ended up with 34 as my answer. Again, as we talked about calculator issues, make sure if you are typing these in your calculators that you're doing it correctly. These two, if you don't do it correctly, will give you the wrong answer. So in the case of this one, so this is 2 times 8. This is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. So if you'll notice, I have a positive and a positive, so my answer is going to be positive 16. This one, we are doing this first and then adding the negative. So kind of, another way to write that, it should look like this. And so this case, my answer would be negative 16. Square roots, let's kind of review that. So the square root of 64, if you can take the square root, go ahead and do that. And then think about this as parentheses. So I would simplify that first and then take the square root of that. Okay, so order of operations. So I kind of created this little visual to help me. So when you're simplifying, you're going to follow PEMDAS or order of operations. This is how we remember it. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And so if you'll notice that these are on the same level. And so when I'm simplifying, I'm going to go down. But if I'm solving, I'm going to work from the bottom up. And so we're going to talk about that later, but just kind of think about this right now. We're going to be simplifying, so we're going to work from the bottom down. So for instance, I'm going to work from the bottom down, so I don't have any parentheses or exponents, but I do have multiplication division. So I'm going to do that first before I do anything else. So 5 plus 6 is 11. Here I have exponents, so that's going to come before multiplication. Here we have a lot of things going on. So we have parentheses. That's the first thing I noticed. But inside the parentheses, we have an exponent. So I'm going to do that first. So 6 minus 16 squared. Now I'm going to work inside the parentheses. So negative 10 squared is positive 100. Okay, so go ahead and try these two and see how you do. Okay, so this one is actually kind of a tricky one. So this probably didn't give you any problems. It's this right here. So the rule is we're going to do exponents before we do multiplication. And so this gave me 9, and then I'm going to apply that negative to it. So that's why my answer is negative 9. And then for this one, you should have gotten negative 22. Okay, so now we're going to go on to evaluate. We're just going to use the values that they give us for A, B, and C, and we're going to plug them in. I think you could probably do this on your own, so go ahead and do it, and we'll check back with each other here in a second. Okay, so I showed my work on each one of these. Most of them are pretty straightforward. This is the one that is really, really tricky, so you had to be really careful. So first of all, I plugged in everything. I would suggest doing that first, not really thinking math yet, just kind of plug in everything. So here I got a positive 9 minus 4, so you'll see that down here. Right here, remember, work inside the grouping symbol. So I got a 5, then I squared that. So that ended up being 25 minus 16, and my final answer is negative 5/5. Okay, so that's it, guys. A lot of review, and if you have any questions, just give me a shout out. Thanks a lot. Bye.